big up, big up. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're listening around the world. Monday Roundup is back. What a weekend of football. Drama, emotions, every emotion, anger, frustration, and happiness across the whole of this panel for some. Certainly more than others. Big up to lead judges, big up to Flawless, big up to Dan, and of course Henry. No Martin today, he's away, but he's back next week. So Man City got a lucky winner at the end. That's all we need to talk about, really. Done. So Man City continue to win. Look, man, I don't know where we want to start today, really. I suppose we best start with Arsenal. Judges, you texted me yesterday and said I'm kind of done with football now. I kind of feel like it's gone down to the kind of levels of refereeing and inconsistencies again. And it was spoken about again, bro, yesterday. Manchester City on Sunday, Chelsea and Liverpool with the tossing situation, Saliba getting the red card. I thought it was a red card from Saliba. I've got to say, I thought he was an absolute idiot. But how did you sum that weekend up, Lee?
Yeah, listen, disappointing. The decisions and all that. Listen, I get it. I get them all. But I see things now that if I was actually a foot, like, because I do what I do now, it's different. But like, if I was just I don't know if I go so much now. Like, I have to say that, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just because of the decisions going against Arsenal, it's just ruining football. It's just like, I'm actually watching games now going, well, that should be a sending off in that. Come on, what's going on there? Why ain't that? Or whatever. And I get it. Like, I watched the Chelsea Liverpool game yesterday. I don't think it is a sending off, but it seems like I'm doing everything to keep him on the field. Oh yeah, like, and then when I watch the Arsenal one, it's doing everything to get him off the field. Little things like that. And I look at the Man City game yesterday and the decision with that corner, and I think to myself, yeah, I get why it's a goal, but then I see Wolves get a goal disallowed for virtually the same sort of thing. And then what really gets on my goat about it, and no one's ever said anything. It's not even the free. It's not even the corner. It's the free kick that should have been given a minute before that. When he's breaking down, he's well and truly pushed in the back. The referee said, "Don't want to give it." If I see if that was Arsenal, I'm telling you that's given as a free kick, and you know what I mean, and they're all celebrating like Arsenal drop points, and it's not just an Arsenal thing. I see Chelsea this week against Liverpool. It's a penalty, don't get given. You know what I mean? Like I look at it like this is what amazes me about football and the inconsistencies. And these idiots on this telly going, oh yeah, I can see it's not a penalty and it is a penalty, like, right? And then in the second half or later on, he gives a penalty when he gets the ball, and they give it, and then it has to be overturned. The actual decisions, are so poor. And then again into the Tottenham West Ham game, kudos, you know what I mean? He should have been sent off 4 times and he gets a yellow card from the referee, like, and to take away VAR, he gets away with all of that. And I don't know if VAR is just making refs poorer. I don't know. Like, they think that maybe they've got that as a backup or something like that. I just don't enjoy it with this VAR thing. Like, and then I hear Warnock on the telly today, right? And I think this is an insult, by the way, an absolute insult. He's in the media. He don't pay to go into the game. He hasn't paid to get there. He can listen to what they're saying from the referee. He's listening to what they're saying. And the fan that's paying 40 quid, 30 quid for his away ticket or 70, 80, 90 pound for a ticket can't hear that audio. But the media can hear exactly what he's saying. I think it's an absolute piss take, if I'll be honest. That, you know what I mean? Like we should be able to hear that and hear what they're saying. Why is it so? Why can't you? Paying customer, and you're not allowed to hear it, and you've got someone that's can walk into a game free, sit down, go, I'll listen to that audio. What gives him the right to have to listen to the audio and the fan not? It's everything about the game at the moment. It's just It's not football no more. It isn't football no more. It used to be a good football and everything like that, you know. I've seen players sent off, right, for winning the ball and then going through the player. Yeah, we've seen it. Oh, but but he did get. It doesn't matter. He got a touch on the ball. So tell me why that's not a penalty then. You know what I mean? He gets the ball, and I know it's against Chelsea, and I'm not having is it clear and obvious that he's made a mistake? No. So why are you getting involved in it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and that's the thing that we're saying. Clear and obvious mistake. Oh, we got to get involved and all that. I've had enough of it. I've had enough of it. Like, you know, and you're looking at decisions. You know, look at what happens in the Man City game. I agree with what O'Neill's sort of saying in a way. Like, you know, there's so much, all those jumping on the referee. Oh, I've got to make a mistake and all that. Like, oh, let's go to VAR straight away. You know, and at the end of it, I've seen Arsenal get. And I'm not just picking on Arsenal because I see Arsenal more. Like, I've seen Ben White tap a goalkeeper, free kick. Nothing said. Get on with the game, right? You know, he's touched him there, free kick. He's pushed him, nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, oh no, it's this Man City can't do that. Like, you know, rain over.
Well, before we go into the games, right? Let's talk about the 3 incidents this weekend. Sorry, that have caused controversy. Well, there's 4 really, but Kudus was a joke. I mean, he's just lost his head. Probably got to the stage where he thought this club's crap. I'm the only one that's any decent, and he's flattened 2 of their players and then gone off. I mean, Richarlison is a bit of a nightmare, by the way, isn't he? Like, he's rolling around like he's been shot. It's absolute embarrassment. But he has pushed at the face of Sarr and of Van de Ven, right? So that one that was just mad. I mean, the referee was a joke, to be fair. But then obviously,
can I just say, Dan, before you come in there, just before you come in there, right? He's bang out of order what he's done, right? But the week before, right, when was it a Chelsea player done it, and they said, "Oh no," they went to VAR and they let him off. I can't remember who was it. What game was it?
It was Jackson. I don't know if they went to VAR or not.
Yeah, Jackson went to VAR. He pushes into the face of a player, and they turned around and said that's acceptable.
Jackson's was even more like a slap than Kudus's was a push, wasn't it?
And then the next week, they send someone off then for the same thing. That you can't do that.
There's just no. We like Dan's going to get to it, but we saw yesterday. It was scary how close those 2 incidents were similar, and they both had different outcomes. Like, I'm sure
this is what I don't get. I mean, like the Kudus one, I think is fair. No one can look at that and go, "What?"
It is fair, Dan.
So that should have been 4 red cards because he stamps on Van de Ven.
That reminded me. Do you remember when Joey Barton lost his head?
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of.
Referee should just went 1, 2, 3, 4. But
I think you're bang on, Dan, by the way. I think he just was like, this team's awful. I'm the only one doing anything today. I think he was
actually playing. He was the only West Ham player that played well. All the others were shocking. And Bowen,
shambles,
well, but the others were shocking, man. Like Bowen absolutely tore Porro a new one in the first half in that first 20 minutes. And then Kudus was brilliant most of the game. And then I think he just looked and thought, like Joey Barton did, I'm just going to go absolute rampage here because these lot pissing me off. And he's just going around slapping man in the face. Just a mad moment.
That game was first 20 minutes was under the cosh. But do you know what the worst thing about that instance, the instance over the weekend is? There isn't a Premier League game now, a big game, or a Premier League weekend where the game is not the big talking point. It's the VAR moment. We're not talking about moments of magic anymore, big challenges, big goals. Yep. The game is the big talking point after all the results is how bad the referees were. When you watch the Champions League, there is barely any English officials. There's barely any. It's Spanish referee in German games, Germans referee in Spain games, and French, Italians. How many major fuck-ups are there in the Champions League or the Europa
League?
League?
Henry? Like, honestly, the major fuck-ups in the Champions League, 9 times out of 10, it comes from the English officiated game.
Yeah.
As well. Like, it literally did the other week, didn't it? I think, was it Michael Oliver?
Yeah. And you know, everyone's obviously lost their mind that Tuchel's the new England manager, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. It won't be long at this rate before the Premier League is foreign officials, because it's every single weekend. Every weekend. Like that Arsenal instance is hospital. I think was it Trossard who played the ball?
Yeah, it was awful.
Saliba. The thing that I can't get my head around is both linesmen, the fourth official, and the referee at the time have given that as a yellow card, right? So they're all in agreement. They're speaking to each other on their headset saying it's a yellow card, right? I didn't think VAR was allowed to intervene with turning yellow cards into red cards. I thought it's only supposed to look at straight red cards. So they send him over to the monitor, not to have a look. They're telling him you need to send him off. Yet the Chelsea game, was it Colwell, Dan? It was in the Liverpool half.
It
was Colwell.
Yeah.
It was Colwell.
Right, so in theory, that means Tosin's last man.
No.
Oh,
And if
yeah, he
you're
was.
last man,
It was right.
it's been the longest rule since the red card rules come in. If you're last man, you bring someone down, it's a red card. So
what? Well, let me tell you why that this is, because I said this on my show last night, right? And obviously, I had Don on, so Don's going to be all Chelsea. But
Don's going to be done, basically.
Don's going to be done, right?
Yeah.
But if Colwell apparently can get back, but so can Ben White. So what's the difference? I don't get it. I don't get anything that it.
Those incidents were so similar, Dan. The fact they were that close together in time as well, it just shows that the PGMOL ultimately are failing in what they're being asked to do. They're actually an independent company that are employed by the Premier League. At this rate, the way they're going, the way they're actually ruining the product that is the Premier League, I think they have to start looking at the contract and think whether or not that's worth employing those people anymore, because they're just not up to the standard. Like Lee said, it's literally ruining the football.
So what I don't get, right? I mean, anyone can come in on this. The referee has said it's a red card, Saliba's last man. And at the time, I've got to be real with you, even as an Arsenal fan, I thought he's got to go. You can't do that. It's stupid, right? I couldn't believe it was a yellow. I remember Curtis said as well, I mean, a lot of people did. Oh my God, I got away with one there. Jesus Christ, how's he got a yellow card for that? And then obviously it turned to a red. So I weren't screaming at the TV. I was actually screaming at the TV because I thought Arsenal was shit, not because Arsenal got a red card, right? That was why I was screaming at the TV. But when I look at the Chelsea one, I watched it at home and I'm thinking, so the excuse as to why he's not got a red is because Colwell might be able to get back. But Ben White might be able to get back. So why is one a red?
I think it's the distance. That's where it is. Where Colwell's like 4 or 5 yards away, where Ben White is more 10, 15 yards away. That's the difference. That's why I think, you trust me, the referees are terrible. They're incompetent. We know this. In those two incidents, that's the difference. Like, get the two.
I agree with that. Like, but they've turned around and said that doesn't make a difference. They actually said that it doesn't matter if he was 20 yards. Did they say?
That's what I don't get. Then I don't get.
This is what I don't.
They taking liberties.
What I say is, this is where it gets ridiculous, right? And this is how it should be. Is he last man? Right? Yes. Right, then he's got to go. That's as simple as that, like, yeah.
That's what I think it should be as well.
So is the one man City? Is he last man? Yes. Right. Let's go. You don't start putting in. Oh, there's circumstances. That's when it all goes wrong, like, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, they actually said the ball can. Well, the ball, if the ball back, we might hit a divot and bounce back one way. How do you know? You can't. The rules too much on there. There's too many things that can happen, like, you know.
It's too grey, man. It's not black.
Yeah, I agree.
It's your last man, and and the other thing is really does that stop a certain goal scoring opportunity? It doesn't. It doesn't on both occasions. You know what I mean? Like, but it's very, very. Like, I'll tell you another thing that I don't understand about Rob, changing the subject a little bit. I've watched it today on this stupid ref watch. I don't know why I watched that. I'm going to have to stop doing that. Like, it just winds me
Who
up.
was it with this time?
Your twin brother's normally on there, and he whatever his name is.
Dermot Gallagher.
Dermot Gallagher, like, you know what I mean? So it's just one of those sort of. You just want to slap his face with a wet fish, didn't you? Like, I don't like it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you feel about it.
Judges of violence, man.
but like, this is where football is stupid, right? And I'll give you that. David Raya gets a yellow card, right, for bringing down the opponent in the box, penalty, right? And then Fraser does it up, just pulls back Vardy, right, and he gets a red card. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same impressive penalty, but one gets sent off and one don't. I just don't understand the rules. You know what I mean? Like all over the place. You know what I mean? Like it's just ridiculous. It's just, you know, it's spoiling the game. You know what I mean? So basically, and you don't. There's no need to send that Fraser off. You've got the penalty. You're spoiling the game of football. Why would you send a player off? It just seems like, you know what I mean? Like they want to send players off on one incident and not another. And I just don't understand it. Like, you know what I mean? Listen, I'm with you on it, Dan. I think Saliba's is a red card. But if you're sending him off for that, right? And I'm going to, I think you've got to send off the Chelsea player. And this is what really annoys me about it. Arsenal versus Leicester 2 seasons ago. I've sent you the thing like then, right? Is that not a sending off, right? I'll tell you what, I'll put it in the group, boys, so you can have a look, right? And this is by the way, the same fella that's on VAR. And he does not intervene with this one, but he does on that one. We can't show it because of legal, but I'm going to put it into the group, right?
Explain it so people know in the chat what the incident is.
Well, Arsenal versus Leicester, the player goes through and he gets pulled back in the middle of the goal, and the referee gives him a yellow card, and VAR accepts it. Like, yeah, okay, right. Now I'm going to send it to you, boys, right, and then you can go from what you want to make on it. Like, you know, it's the same fella in VAR that makes the same decision, right, and now. You tell me how that can be different. It's a Stonewall red card, but he gets a yellow card, and the same person in VAR. Now they're going to turn around and go, "Oh well, a year ago we told him it was wrong and all that." It's crap. You cannot have this. Football is so inconsistent. It's just unbelievable, like, you know. And listen, guys, we're going to get another incident with the corner at Man City, and I guarantee you. They will give it as a goal. They will cross it off, and everybody will then make all the excuses they want.
What did you boys make of that Man City one, Bernard? Because I
don't know how that's not disallowed. I'll be honest.
They had that last year, didn't they?
I think Bernardo Silva is impeding the goalkeeper, and we had the exact same thing with Ben White and Vicario. Ben White was all over it, trying to get his glove off his hand. You know, how is that not disallowed? And you actually scored from that corner from Gabriel. He's blocking Vicario up until the point where the ball leaves John Stones' head, not Vicario, Jose Sarr. He's impeding him up until the point the ball leaves John Stones' head. So how is that not disallowed? And people can cry about, you know, the big 6 VAR decisions. Do you know since VAR's been in the Premier League, Wolves have had the most decisions go against them?
Yeah.
And no one, you know, I think Gary Hill did very well in his press conference yesterday, because if that was me, he must hate VAR. I don't see how that's not disallowed.
You think he
take nothing away from John Stones? It's a great header, but he's standing in front, backing up against until the moment it leaves the ball's head. So like,
but then what I didn't get right, you know, when the referees get called over to VAR, you're like, oh, well, obviously they're going to change their mind. Chris Kavanagh didn't, did he? He went over to VAR because they've said you made a mistake here, mate. He's been impeding the goalkeeper, and he's basically said, nah. He ain't. I'm sticking with the goal. Now, I've got to say, I don't think it was horrendous from Bernardo Silva. I think he's tried a bit of shithousery, and I don't think he's really got away with it too much. I know you can say they scored from it, but I don't think if he wasn't there, would he have saved John Stones' header? I don't know if he would.
Yeah, but that's the problem, because that's now a grey area. We're never ever going to know.
That's what I'm saying.
If Jose Sarr's going to save that, are we?
Yeah, I think I was surprised when it got called, because I seen it and I was like, what's it for? I was like, is it a foul? Is it offside? To me, I was like, what's the issue? But again, this is just referees like showing their incompetence, and VAR exposes them even more, because that's supposed to help. That's supposed to assist. Like, you got more angles, slow motion, everything in your power. And it's not like there's one official in the VAR room. There's 3 or 4 up there. And they continue to make bad decisions. And then you see the referee sometimes on the field go over to the monitor and still get it wrong. Referees are just bad. In the Wolves defense, hey, you know what? Just defend the corner bell. That's how I look at it. Like, take the power outside of the referee's hands, because we know how bad they are. But I thought
And
it was a legitimate
that's where
goal.
I'm at. Like when you're looking at a game going, oh, VAR has lost us that, you ain't played very well. That's basically what it is, right? But I got in my car because I was out yesterday, so I didn't see the game, the Man City Wolves game. And I got in the car and they were like, oh, Gary O'Neill will be devastated with this last minute winner. It should never be allowed by like whoever it was on TalkSport. And I was like, oh, no, really? That's got a lucky one. I watched it and I thought, what's wrong with that then? I couldn't see it. I actually genuinely couldn't see what was wrong with it. And then I had to look at it again from a different angle, which I guess VAR probably didn't see, or Kavanagh didn't see. And obviously he's impeded the goalkeeper. So it's like, which can you do, which can't you do? Again, massive grey area. It needs to be.
Kavanagh disallowed it on the pitch. And then he went over to the monitor and then allowed the goal to stand.
Yeah, it's because the linesman was saying it was
offside. The linesman was saying it was offside, wasn't it?
So when he went over to the monitor, he then gave the goal. But at first, I think one of them was going to give it for the impediment and offside, but I'm not sure.
But what was it then? What do people think it was? Was it offside? Was it a foul? Was it a goal? I still don't know.
It's not offside. I'll tell you why it's not offside. So this is the problem that you got, right? There's times when so Arsenal Man City when we scored like the goal when Gabriel scores, Martinelli just stands there, right? He stands there. He doesn't do anything and don't interfere. He just stands there and he bumps into him. So from the corner, you can't be offside. So basically, as soon as he headers it, Silva gets out of the way and it's a goal. So from that point there, but what we're saying is when you're offside, do you influence the play? He's bashing into him. So even though he's not offside, he is interfering in some sort of way, isn't he? Like because he's sort of like initiating the contact. He's not just standing. If he just stands there, Silva, the goalkeeper might come out for the ball. He might, but he initiates the contact. I don't know. I kind of have to say it. Silva's very, very clever because I tell you where he's very clever is that at the point of contact from the header, he gets out of the way. So you have to say, you know what I mean, well done to him, like, you know. So they've obviously been trained in it, you know what I mean? I'll give City their due. They were the first ones to see that Vicario had a bit of a weakness on corners. That's in the FA Cup game, and then everybody targets him now. So they've looked at all this situation and said, look, this is what we can do. Instead of getting onto the goalkeeper, we can leave him while you're offside, bang him, right? In a football term, not a sexual term. And then you can go from there. And that's exactly what he does. Dark arts, boys. It's dark arts. It's very, very
definitely dark arts. That.
You know, City players now only cheating. They're going around banging people. It's bang out of order. And you just got to accept it. You know, I think it's a goal. If I'll be really honest, I think it's a goal.
Well, listen, they're the three that we were talking about, and obviously the Kudus one makes it 4. Let's come to flawless on Arsenal. That was a shambles, man. I'll tell you what was a shambles. It weren't the red card. It weren't the fact we went down to 10 men so we couldn't win. I did this on my show. I've just taken the referees out of this completely. I thought Mikel Arteta was shambolic. I thought the team selection was horrendous. Our midfield was a joke, playing Marino, Rice and Partey away from home against Bournemouth and wondering why he got no creativity. I thought the subs were embarrassing, particularly going down to 10 men. He took our only threat off, which was Sterling, even though I'm not a huge fan of him. Brought on Kivior, who makes a mistake. He then subs him off, leaves Wanyeri with 2-0 down until he brings him on, and we finally look a little bit like we're going to do something with him on the ball. He got everything wrong, man. I thought we were a shambles, and I think Arteta, and let's be real, people will laugh when I say this, but I think the board and Cronkies, I'm looking at them going, is this what you're happy with then? Are you happy with this squad? Do you think this is good enough? Do you think this is better on last season? Because I said it wasn't, and everyone said I was negative. I said we needed a striker and an attacking midfielder still, like an Eze, Gyökeres or Isak, somebody like that. Nah, we got Havertz and Wanyeri will be ready. Or Arteta don't think he's ready because he didn't play him. He brought him on when we were 2-0 down, the game was lost. And Arteta doesn't think we need a striker because not only is he just using Havertz as the 9, he hasn't bought one since we sold the Aubameyang 3 years ago. So this is where I'm at, Flawless. I thought it was a shambles, brother, I must say.
Yeah, like you said there, the lineup. That is the maddest part before the game kicks off. And you mentioned it already, the midfield. How would you go to Bournemouth and play 3 defensive midfielders? Like, what? You're not going... Like, that's pretty much unacceptable anywhere. Unless you're going out. No, maybe Real Madrid away. Like, where you go, all right, we kind of understand it. But even then, 2 at very, very most. Because you need to have some form of attacking threat. Yes, Odegaard's injured. Yes, Saka is also unavailable as well. But play the other attacking players. Whether you rate them or not, if it's Enrari playing, whether it's a Jesus, Trossard, a Sterling, you have to at least have some form of threat going out there. And you've seen Arsenal struggle going forward. And what's the crazy part is, Arsenal were even great defensively, which is what you've associated Arsenal with under Arteta. And how do you got 4 defenders out there, 3 DMs, and not look great defensively? No disrespect, against Bournemouth. It's not like Bournemouth are like offensively very, very good. And even outside of the red card, you lot weren't good. I'm not sure how many shots you had on target. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't remember you lot peppering the goal. Yes, Martinelli should score 110%, but you can't. Saliba, I don't know why. I reckon if Saliba stays on, you probably win the game. Not the best performance. I think the performance would have been similar, but I think you lot win the game. But that's on Saliba, and this is what I always say when it comes to refereeing decisions. We all know referees are incompetent. It's the one thing all football fans, you take one fan from each of the 20 clubs in the Premier League, and one thing they'll all universally agree on is that referees are awful. I've never heard a fan anywhere this year, last year, the entire time I've been watching football saying, hey, the refereeing standard is great in the Premier League, no matter what the error is. So, why give the referee a decision to make? Because Saliba catches the Bournemouth attacker 110%. You don't even need to bring him down. It's not like it's someone is lightning quick. If it was Semenyo, I might hear it to an extent, because he's someone who can potentially get away from you. But even then, Saliba has great recovery pace. So yeah, with Arsenal and the game, it's like, you just got it completely wrong. And you mentioned the subs there, down to 10 men. Why are you not bringing on a Martinelli as an outlet? Why are you not? You need pace going the other way. You have to have some fun, even if you want. But then again, it's Bournemouth, you're playing against 10 men. We've seen teams go down to 10 men and still boss games. Arsenal are still capable of beating Bournemouth with 10 men. Like, let's not get that misunderstood. Definitely 110% still capable of beating them with 10 men. And it's kind of like he just surrendered and was like, okay, let's try and nick one on the break. And if Martinelli scores, it's a different story. But go and attack Bournemouth. Like, they're a mid-table club, for instance. All right, geez, you want to slap me with a wet fish, please?
Just replying to Nathan. Sorry, you know what I mean?
It's all good, man. It's all good. It's all good.
I need to look.
That's pretty much my thoughts on it. That's pretty much my thoughts.
Did anyone hear about this? Judges coming on at half time at Bournemouth and him and Julian doing the crossbar challenge. I mean, what is that?
You man did it. Is there footage?
I've got footage. You want? I don't know.
Send it in the chat.
Send it in the chat. Send it in the chat. We want to see this.
Listen.
While you're doing, go on.
I'll send it to
you. While you're doing that, I was going to come to the other two, but go on. If you got
go on, you carry on. I'll send it to the chat now.
Send it to us, man. I want to see this, man. This apparently when I don't know how true this is, but Robbie told me that when you walked off the pitch, all the Arsenal fans saying you let your
this is true. What happened was, right? I've got to find it, but listen, the pitch was very, very wet. I'm not making excuses. I couldn't believe how wet the pitch was. So I was worried about slipping over. But anyway, Julian's only just touched Julian's ball only just hit the goal. But listen, I'm putting it in here now, right? Right? And there you go. I said to myself, I'm gonna hit this. Whatever happens, I am gonna make sure I score. Right? Do you know what I mean? Like, but
we watch this.
So just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you can get it up, Dan. Can you send it and put it up?
You can download it and put it on the screen. Is that you or Julian, that one?
That's me, like, you know what I mean? So, first up as well, right? And you got to imagine, I've got my trainers on. I was worried about, very wary of slipping over. But anyway, listen, no excuses. It's not great. And I totally failed. But the worst thing about it was, when we're coming back to the Arsenal way end, like, you know what I mean? They've all started going, you've let the Arsenal down, you've let the Arsenal down. And then, like, to make it even worse, they all started seeing Judges as a wanker. It's fucking you know, I mean, I've just scored at fucking Bournemouth, which is what none of their fucking players did, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm the wanker, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, you know. So, but
how the hell did you get to do that?
What happened was they like the Bournemouth fella who was organising it just come up to me and just said, "Look, it'd be really good if you can
miss a penalty."
Come up and do the penalty at half time. And
they set you up there, Judges, man. They set you up.
Man. Do you know what? I'm going to be really honest with you. Like, I thought, do I really want to do this? Particularly when we've had a player sent off. I've agreed to this before the game as I've gone into the thing. They've copped me and said to me, like, would you, Julian, cause like, you know what I mean? This is honestly, this is what I have to deal with in a life of a game of football. Julian's going, do you think they'll let me out so I can go and get a pair of boots from JD Sports? Like, I'm thinking, Christ almighty, like, you know what I mean?
Hey, he's trying to prepare. You know what? I respect that. He's trying to prepare. He's trying to prepare.
He's saying, like, if I go and say to the guys, we're doing this Crossbar challenge, that because you know, if you go in the stadium, you're not allowed to go out, and you're not allowed, But I don't think they can do it. And then the next minute, I'm standing watching the game. You know what I mean? He's doing stretches. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I don't want to pull a hamstring before the game." I'm going, for Christ, I'm trying to watch the game. And he's doing all these stretches and all that, like, you know what I mean? Well, it'll be out this week. You've got a exclusive clip tomorrow one night, but there's here's one, right? Actually, it bounces before it goes into the goal, you know. You know what I mean? You think mine's bad, but his is a lot worse, you know what I mean? So there you go. But listen, I've scored at Bournemouth. Can any of you wankers say the same? No, that's all I'm saying. But no, all jokes aside, I'm thinking, like, wow, this is a great opportunity to go on a Premier League pitch, walk on there. It's a life ban if you go on a pitch, isn't it? Like,
Right.
And honestly, when I went on it, guys, this is no word of a lie, I could not believe how wet it was. How much water they put on it, like, if you put your finger into the pitch, like, the water would come up to your fingernail, like but also it was really hard. It was like, it weren't like, like, it was like firm, but really wet. It was unbelievable. Like, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe how wet the pitch
They're
was.
blended, Judges, with Astro, like 3G and the grass. They like twist the fibers together.
Yeah, it was incredible, like, you know what I mean? So
well, there you go. You scored more than Arsenal did at the weekend, bro.
I did, like, you know what I mean? Listen, it was a great experience, and don't forget, which you can't see there, all the Bournemouth fans are behind there booing you. You know what I mean? Like,
you got the away experience, Judges. Yeah, you got the
family club. So all the Bournemouth fans are booing you, and when you don't get hit the bar, like, And
it's lucky you weren't at Liverpool, by the way, Judges. I don't know if you saw it, but David James saved 2 penalties off a 10-year-old.
Yeah, I saw that.
What? Really?
Yeah. Like, they're giving it to him and everything, yeah, and he's just saved 2 penos from this kid.
He took it proper serious, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a great experience, and it was great to be asked and great to go on the pitch at half time and and walk around, and like, Bournemouth players, were warming up and going hello to you and all that. Like, it was surreal, I have to say, like, you know what I mean? But the penalty certainly wasn't. Well, the crossbar challenge certainly wasn't, like, you know what I mean? So
no, absolutely not, man. Look, Arsenal were a mess. Arsenal need to turn it around tomorrow night against Shakhtar, and injuries ain't looking good, man. I don't know what's happening with Timber. Arteta reckons he might be all right. Saka might be all right. Ødegaard, no. So, yeah, man, we got to get these players back, because at the moment, we just got no players that can fit in at fullback or in creative midfield. And Wanyeri, don't seem to trust him. So it's going to have to, man. In my opinion, we've got to bounce back. It is only one game. Someone did actually everyone's going mad. All the Arsenal fans having meltdown, all the rival fans saying, "Oh, this is a top 4 challenge for you now," and all that. We've lost 2 games in 6. Well, 1 game in 6 months, 2 games in 2024. It's crazy, but there we go. Apparently, we're in a top 4 race now after losing 2 in a year. It's crazy, but there we go. Let's move to Chelsea. I actually thought it was a good game yesterday. I thought the atmosphere was dead, by the way. What's happened to Anfield, by the way?
Yeah.
That is a silent library now, isn't it, Anfield? What is going on there? I literally cannot believe. I was watching it and I was thinking, my volume up, or is that? Oh, it is up. My God, it is dead. Absolute dead atmosphere, you know. But I actually thought Chelsea looked pretty good in parts, I must say. I actually did. I think Chelsea have really set up quite well this season so far. But Liverpool, I thought, had the better. I mean, Curtis Jones was quality, by the way.
Yeah.
When Alexis McAllister was told he might not make it, I think Liverpool were like, "Oh no!" But Jones come in, and thank God he did, because he was by far their best player. Defensively, though, Dan, Chelsea, got to talk about them, and also Palmer was invisible, bruv, like literally invisible, man. So, what are you telling me?
Yeah, frustrating performance all round, I think, for Chelsea. I think there was moments of some really, really good football, and the way we set up was positive, that we did take the game to Liverpool at times. I think that's the fewest shots Liverpool have had at Anfield since 21. I don't think they were fantastic, but at the same time, Chelsea was sloppy, and it led to us losing the game and not coming away with anything. And Cole Palmer, well, I don't know where the blame starts with that, really. I think he's obviously set up in this system where it's slightly rigid, where he's occupying one space and one space only on that pitch. And I don't think he's able to leave that with the way Maresca sets up the team. But at the same time, I think you have to be a bit of a rebel and go against what the manager's asking you to do if you believe you're good enough to win the game of football. And I think there's moments there where I believe I've seen players of a better, or who have done more in their career and been at the higher level for a longer period of time, players like Eden Hazard spring to mind, where even if they were told to play on the left, he'd drift off into the centre, go pick up the ball, just start making things happen. Because as much as I think Lavia and Caicedo were very good, at times when we dominated a lot of the ball in the first half, they actually didn't create too much. Caicedo was probably our more creative of the two. Lavia was very press resistant, had a really good game. But I just think it almost takes the like of Cole Palmer to drop out of his position that he's in, go and get on the ball and maybe make something happen, because Liverpool was sat in deep. And I did question it. I think it was on this show. I don't know if it was this show last week. I think it was, or it was when I was speaking to you, Dan. I said, I wonder if Liverpool will sit back because they see now Chelsea struggled against Nottingham Forest. And actually, Liverpool ended up doing that pretty much. And they kind of sat back and said to Chelsea, see if you can play through us. And we couldn't. And as much as we had the ball and dominated at times, we really didn't create much. And I think half the blame has to be put on Cole Palmer there. And I think half of it has to be put on Maresca for failing to change it up to allow us to create more.
I think with Chelsea, they were very brave, what I see of it. Like, you know what I mean? Very, very high line against the Liverpool side, which has pace, by the way. Left them like one-on-one situations with Saha and all that, which is something that you have to say is very, very brave. And I think, if I've been really honest, I think Chelsea looked good and all that, but I thought they played into Liverpool's hands a little bit, if I'll be honest. I felt like, you know, do you really need to be doing that? And then fair play to them. They get it to 1-1 and then they just switch off. They switch off defensively. Like, you know, I don't know if James was tired or whatever, because that was just lazy defending, if I'll be honest. And I think that Chelsea are a decent team. And I like their squad. I think, like, you know, they're going to be right up there this season. But goalkeeper lets them down too much as well. Like, you know what I mean? You 1-1, you've got back in at Anfield, and you know, what's he doing for that? He's got to come out and just take everything, the ball and everything there, like, you know. But listen, I think that they were brave, Chelsea, and but again, you know what I mean? Like Cole Palmer, I think like had an unbelievable season last season. Teams are not going to give him they're going to give him a lot more respect this season, like, and quite rightly so. He's going to be targeted a little bit. He's got to find ways to get in through it. Listen, I think also what I see of it, he goes past every time he goes past someone, he was brought down. You know what I mean, like, you know. And I think like,
is it fair to say though? Yeah, I was just going. You were going to go into it, because is it fair to say, like, this is what he's going to have to expect. Because there's Chelsea fans, Dan ain't one of these, but there's Chelsea fans that don't like. They're like, sacked there last season. Oh, Saka, he weren't too good, was he? He weren't too good, Saka. And then when now Cole Palmer it's happening to, where he's been quiet against Liverpool, quiet against City, quiet against Forest, quiet against Palace. Oh, well, we don't like that. We don't like this now. Maybe we shouldn't have said too much about Saka, because this is what Palmer's going to have now. Two players on him, kicking him all the time. Don't give him a sniff, because that's what they do with Saka, and that's why I've got respect for Saka, because he gives a goal and assist every game, and he's got at least two players on him hacking him down every time. Now Palmer, it's happening to him. Got a little bit more quiet. Now, don't get me wrong, he's been brilliant against Wolves, brilliant against Brighton. But for me, there's been games he hasn't turned up in. Let's see what he's like throughout this season, because people are now going to start targeting him just like they do Saka. So, you know, I don't think Chelsea fans can be hypocritical to go, oh, Saka's been quiet. He just gets kicked all the time. Easy to play against. Now it's happening to Palmer. They've gone quiet a bit and they don't like it. They're kicking back with it. So that's what I will say.
Yeah. Listen, the one thing about Palmer, what I did like about him yesterday is that he doesn't complain about it. He gets up and goes again. You know what I mean? And that's what you got to do. They did target him yesterday a little bit. I felt like, you know, but that's
his quality.
That's it. It's a compliment. It's a compliment to him, like, you know. But I feel that I think with Chelsea yesterday, I think like tactically, I think he got a little bit wrong. You don't play into Liverpool's hands, particularly if it's at Chelsea. I'm going to go, yeah, I'll get it a little bit, but Anfield, just be a little bit more, not so gun ho, a little bit like, and they allowed Chelsea, Liverpool, too many opportunities which they shouldn't be doing when you're away from home. But you know, it's brave, and it nearly paid off.
Yeah,
it did from Chelsea. To be fair, like if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be. I know it's a defeat, and you shouldn't be happy with a defeat, but I've seen a lot worse performances from them at Anfield.
Yeah, that's great. If
Jadon Sancho get like on another day, that could have been a penalty. I know we talk about a red card.
That's not a penalty.
Yeah, I agree.
Penalty.
Yeah. I think Sancho, I have to question that from Maresca. That was probably the only thing I felt that I thought was a really poor piece of man management, to drag him at half time, because I feel like you've asked him to play. You've put your trust in him to start the game. And he was, okay, it wasn't his best performance, but it wasn't like he was inactive. Trent wasn't able to get forward. You think he was terrible?
No, I'm saying he wasn't terrible. No, I'm not. I'm saying he wasn't terrible. I'm in agreement.
I think Sancho was all right. And I think it wasn't so bad that he should have been dragged at half time. I think he was one of the more proactive players of trying to make something happen. I just think Maresca wanted it done with a bit more pace. And I think at half time, you probably should have said to him, can you do it a bit faster for me, Jadon? Can you try and take him on more instead of playing the 1-2? If you can do that for me, then I think we can get at Trent. Instead of doing that, he's dragged him at half time and probably killed his confidence again. And if he'd have dragged him, if he'd have taken him off at 60 minutes, I don't think there was too much difference in Neto's first 15 to Sancho's first 45. And then I don't think for the rest of the game, Neto was unbelievably different to what Sancho offered. I think he had some spells where his pace obviously helped the situation
just
a little
bit
more.
Direct. That's what
a little bit. I don't understand why Maresca risked killing Sancho's confidence instead of giving him an extra 15 minutes. Because if you get subbed at 60, you take it rather than coming off at 45, where it's actually a little bit embarrassing for a player to be dragged at halftime. And we know Sancho's
left winger, man. He's your best left winger.
Sancho's a fragile character as well. I just wonder whether, I know Maresca's done it before to Mudryk, and he dragged him and put Sancho on, and then he's probably hoping for a similar response from Neto. But at the same time, he is ruthless,
he's
Henry.
Absolutely ruthless.
But at what, like, I understand the positives of it, but at the same time, I understand that Sancho is not the type of character to act in that way with, because you're not going to get the best out of Sancho. And I know you can't make excuses for players, but at the same time, I'd rather know that Sancho is going to be positive coming into training, positive during the week, rather than risk embarrassing him for 15 minutes of a game where I don't think it was bad enough to be dragged at half time.
I think you're a ball playing centre back and a goalkeeper away from being in the conversation. Like, I think, you know, remember when Liverpool were, they brought in Alisson and Van Dijk, and I'm not saying your squad is as good as that Liverpool side, but it kind of feels like a very similar situation. I thought Caicedo yesterday was very, very good. Him and Gravenberch were both brilliant. Yeah. But like Cole Palmer's had one bad game this season. The pylon is insane. He's had 2 bad games in about 42, 43 games. The guy's still got 10 GA this season. Oh, he's overrated. This and like Saka didn't even play this weekend, and we're still bringing Saka. And like, just do you know what I mean? Just let Cole Palmer and Saka do their thing. Talk about it
but Henry, we do this as England fans. We do this as England fans all the time. Gerrard and Lampard, one of them's crap, one of them's good. We've done it with Rooney, we've done it with Beckham, we do it with Kane, we do it with and then we wonder why we don't win anything. Because it's absolutely mad. Foden's better than Saka. Now no one talks about that. Now it's Palmer and Foden. Now it's Bellingham. He's not even that good, Bellingham. He's not even that good. He's overrated, Bellingham. Drop him. Get him out of the side.
Because people always try to score points. That's what that is. That's where that stems from. That club bias is people. That's why people will compare players who don't even play the same position. The fact that Palmer and Saka, I don't even compare the two. I'm like, why is it a conversation? They don't. If they play the same role, I hear it. Like Foden and Palmer makes more sense because they actually play the same position. But simply because Saka's English and Palmer's English is the sole reason we compared. Nowhere else do we compare a winger, which Saka is, to a 10, which is Palmer. It don't happen anywhere else. But simply because they're both quality and they both English, who's better? And they both play for Arsenal, one plays for Chelsea, and they're rivals. That's it. I think it is.
You're right. It's like me saying, who do you think's better, Bruno Fernandes or Luis Diaz? You'll be like, what?
It wouldn't happen.
We don't do that, do we? But
that's it. We never compare Mo Salah to Odegaard. Never ever wouldn't be a conversation. Like, all right, who's better? What are you talking about?
I totally with you, bro.
That's where it stems from.
Is actually with the England squad selection as well. It's quite clear Saka and Madueke is actually the real discussion in terms of that right wing space, because Madueke's getting selected for England at the moment, but he's quite clearly seen as second spot or third spot in terms of that right wing position for England. So,
I don't get it. It doesn't make
all the
any
time,
sense.
and the press just love to chop people. Like the backlash I've seen Sancho getting off of that. This is why I'm sort of coming out in support for him, because Maresca could have avoided that if he come off at 60th minute, but he's almost like heightened the backlash now for Sancho, and I feel like that just isn't the smartest way to go about it. I also said that I worried about that space in behind where Lee said where we were risky and we left only like 3 players back and expected us to be able to defend it every time Liverpool played the ball over the top. And ultimately, Tosin couldn't cope with it, probably should have been sent off. In my eyes, last man's a red card. I don't care the distances, where you are on the pitch. I know Tosin loses that race. He probably should have been sent off. I think we struggled to come to terms with Curtis Jones' third man run. He made it 3 times. One led to a penalty that was never given, obviously, where Sanchez clattered him. One led to a goal, and one just before, I think, led to a cutback that never really materialised into anything. Maresca at half-time drags Sancho, instead of saying to his players, be aware of this third man run that's already caused us trouble. And then, like Lee said, minutes in after scoring, we already go and concede to a third man run from Curtis Jones that Caicedo was not aware of because he hadn't been told, and neither had Reece James. Reece James is there with his hand up, appealing for offside. And then, when you're talking about, and the other thing that I have to say is that as much as Chelsea were positive, and there are definitely positives to take, because we got battered 4-1 against Liverpool under Poch last season, and we were woeful, and we were way more in this game. And the fact I can sit here with frustration now, because I could see a way for us to potentially get something out of the game, says to me how much we've moved forwards. Because when we played there with Poch, I was laughing at the fact we even got a goal, because we just didn't really deserve it. It was a bit of individual brilliance from Nkunku. But Maresca played Reece James and Lavia from the get-go, probably knowing they only had 50 minutes because the medical staff were probably giving him instructions saying that's all they can play. He basically played his hand early doors and basically said to Arne Slot, whatever happens, I've got to take 2 players off at 50, 60 minutes, whether they're playing unbelievably or not. And Arne Slot probably thought, right, well, we'll just ride it out whilst they're on the pitch, let them have the ball. And then as soon as those 2 go off, we know they're going to be significantly weaker, because there's no doubt about it. Lavia and Reece James improved Chelsea's team. And then the subs he's already making them at 1-1 before we concede is Vega, Badashile, and Enzo Fernandez. And there is subs at 1-1, and then we go 2-1, and he makes the exact same subs. It's like he was... I just think you don't play 2 players that have to be dragged at 50 minutes to start the game. You just don't do it, because it forces your hands with substitutions.
I thought defensively, James and even Gusto at the left back role Like, I didn't think they were a shambles, but I didn't think they were great. Colwell as well. Like, I know he's been good for you this year and formed a partnership with Fofana, but that weren't looking.
Well, that's a
he
back.
weren't looking
That's
great.
another back. This is where I have a little bit of issue with it. Like, we could have. Reece James played in a very defensive role rather than the attacking role that he's been like praised so highly for in previous years. Maresca seems to see him as a centre back, right? He seems to say, like, you sit back and I'll let Gusto go forward into that attacking 10 role, and you on the right hand side, one of the best attacking right backs in the world on your day, you sit back and be a centre back, which baffles me. And I know it's a small sample size, but that's how he seems to have identified Reece James. You could have brought Reece James on when you're 1 or 2-1 chasing a game, and he would have given you something going forwards, and he might have played half an hour. You play him for 50 minutes as a centre back, and then you have to then change your back line again. That back line, both times after the subs and before the subs, has never played with each other at all, and they go to Anfield and play a back four that's never played with each other. It's just, I think that's a little bit crazy. I just think you don't do that. Liverpool had their best back four. Obviously, they didn't have Alisson, but other than that, they've got their best back four, and they made it incredibly difficult for Chelsea to break down. And that's the difference. You're playing a defence that's never played together before, who were sloppy and didn't understand each other and looked a bit nervous at times, concede 2 goals, give away sloppy chances, probably could have given away 3 penalties if we're being honest, and we got lucky it was only 1. And then Liverpool, they never looked like they were really being challenged by our attack because their defence is solid, resolute, and know each other's game inside out.
I think Chelsea, right? I'll throw you this to you, Flawless, right? I think Chelsea are a striker, a goalkeeper, and like Henry said, I think one more in their defence away from going to that next level. I don't think as much as Jackson scored and stuff like that he's going to be that guy to take you into a title. I don't think that the goalkeeper is anywhere near good enough, Sanchez. And I think that they've got to try and look at what they're doing defensively. But I think Chelsea will be there or thereabouts for top 4. My question is 2. Do you think Chelsea will be anything better than Champions League this season? And do you think Liverpool are good enough to win the title and go all the way?
Yeah, in terms of the first one, I had Chelsea top 4 before the season started, off the moves they had made, because you can see if this clicks, even if because we didn't know too much about Enzo Maresca because it's the first time him being in the Premier League. So you did well in the Championship. How's that going to translate to the Premier League? So even if he was average, just the amount of attacking talent they have, they're going to score goals regardless. And you can see now that he's coaching very well. Dan makes some great points in regards to errors he's made, but more often than not, he's got it right. And even when they played against City in the opening game, even though they lost, I was like, there's something like Maresca's on point here. I could see what he was trying to do, and it was the quality that shown that the quality that City had was the reason why they lost the game. But I thought, Chelsea will be all right. And I do agree with you. We singing from the same hymn sheet. They're 3 players away from going to that next level. A goalkeeper, a centre-back, and a striker. Is it tough to go and get? You basically asking to go and get a spine. That is very, very tough. But if they get it right, which they can get it right because they clearly have the funds, then they could be a serious outfit with Maresca and the rest of the players that they have there. But I think they'll finish in the top 4. And in regards to Liverpool, I still think it's too early. I still think it's too early. Yes, Slot is playing he's doing a very, very good job. They're playing very well defensively, been the best team without doubt, been the best team in terms of performances. But we are not 10 games in yet. I think, 2 seasons ago, when I think Henry will know, Spurs were top of the table. Remember when Ange first went in? And we've seen how that ended up. So it's like, I'm not going to say that they're good enough. Like, what happens if they get a couple injuries? What happens if they get a couple suspensions, etc.? Once they get to the latter stages of the Champions League. And I still think it's the new factor as well with Slot in regards to teams don't know what to expect. But what happens when teams figure them out and know what they're going to do? How does he then alter it like that? So I'm not going to turn around and say, no, not yet. I still need to see more. But unfortunately, so far, so good for them. They're too good. Go on.
You see with Chelsea where you're saying, and Dan has mentioned it as well, that we're only a couple of players away. We've spent 1.4 billion. Had we recruited Osimhen, it would have been 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have spent I know this doesn't, on the tactics side of things, we obviously need those players in to be better. But by spending that amount of money, Chelsea as a football club can't really complain that they haven't recruited players, but it just shows how poor a job's been done that we spent 1.4 billion pounds and we're still lacking a decent centre back to replace Thiago Silva, a decent keeper to replace Mendy, and a striker good enough of winning games like that, like where your back is to goal. You don't have a lot of the ball, but you take chances. Fair play to Jackson yesterday, actually. He did take his chance, but at the same time, we can all see that there are strikers that can play with their back to goal and affect the game a little bit more than what he did in that moment. But
I think it's the recruitment. I think you said it there, Dan, in regards to it shows how poor the recruitment's been, that you spent that amount and you're still short. But if you go and spend after that, you probably get it right.
1,500 million pound players.
Yeah.
But we've bought obviously 30, 50 to 40 million pound youngsters, which is obviously the reason Chelsea are still looking to have to buy more players in the transfer market. But I just want to say, and I think someone in the chat just made that point, is that before this weekend, people were saying if Chelsea beat Liverpool, they could potentially be in a title race, blah, 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 or definitely cementing a place for top 4. And I've been saying, look, 5th place for me is where I see Chelsea having to meet as a minimum this season as an expectation. We are 6th place, 3 points above the lowly Manchester United, who have been absolutely battered week in, week out. Chelsea's start to the season has been good, and there are definitely positives to take. And I think if we look at the football in isolation, Chelsea's on a much better path to where we want to be in terms of the football that we play. But actually, when you look at points and objectively look at where it's at, there's only 3 points different, and we play you in a couple of weeks. And if we don't do well against Newcastle, do okay against us or get a draw or something, Manchester United could close that gap with the fixtures they've got. And by the time we play them, and if they were to beat us, which Chelsea have a very difficult time playing Manchester United, in history suggests, Manchester United could be level with Chelsea. And all of a sudden,
mad, isn't it?
A lot got to go right there, Dan. You know, there's a day you don't have to worry about us. Maybe other teams, like a lot has to go right. But I do understand
Think how much has gone wrong and how much stick Manchester United have taken and Ten Hag's taken. And you're 3 points off of the heavily praised manager of the month, Enzo Maresca.
That's true. When you put it in that perspective, I hear that, but that goes to show as well that you are still a work in progress. And I think the Liverpool game showed that. I think you see it.
I guess 3 years on, you would hope that Maresca isn't having the discussion about
he should. Off of you should not be here in 3 years. If you're still in this situation in 3 years and he's still in the job, everything's gone wrong.
But I just think Chelsea, as much as Chelsea fans just need to remember that the top 4 challenge isn't going to be as easy as some people might have made it out to be.
And can I ask one question to all you guys? And I'm going to say it now. I think there's a player in Jackson. I know, he's not nowhere near the finished article yet, but I think if Chelsea stick with him in the next couple of years, I think he's got everything, apart from his finishing at the moment. If you can work on that, he's got
that's the thing, man. I ain't looking at his finish. His finish.
He don't look like a natural striker of the ball.
He's a good squad. He's a good squad player to have.
He's a squad player. I actually think he's better on the left.
I don't think he's going to make the grade.
Nah, if Chelsea are going to go try win a league title, you can't have to me. You can't have Nicholas Jackson leading your line.
He could play a huge part in being like a squad player that scores you 15 goals in that sort of run.
Yeah. He's a number 2 to me.
Yeah, I think
when we're talking about high margins, if West Ham would have beaten Spurs this weekend, they would have gone above us. That's how fine the margins are. Like people say, it's 3 points. Man United go above Chelsea. It's 3 points between. Well, before we won, we'd have been if we didn't beat West Ham. Obviously, United lost. We'd have been down in 13th.
I know you won a few games in a row, Henry, but we've spent a lot of this season slating Ange as well, saying he should be sacked and whatever. Maresca's not had that yet. Ange and Ten Hag have had their fair share of slander online, right? And then Maresca's been heavily praised by every single person I've spoken to.
Because it's only his first season.
But Dan, it's also outside of results is how you lot have looked as well. Yeah, that's what people are taking into consideration.
You can look good, but at the same time, Southampton have played some nice football, but they can't get a result for love nor money. Yeah. So I'm about results, and ultimately Chelsea Football Club are about results. We've never had a style of play. We swapped our manager every 2 years if we weren't winning. It didn't matter what football was on display. But then we were the most successful club in the country for 20 years.
Now you're right. You're not wrong.
No, you are talking facts, bro. You are talking facts.
I said results over everything. I respect it. First,
no facts. I'm with you, man. Let's segue into Tottenham. By doing that, I want to touch very quickly on Man United flawless, because obviously West Ham, Man United is like going to be El Sakiko. It's going to be one of them. Lopetegui or fucking Ten Hag. Whoever loses that game, my word. But West Ham was so dusty against Spurs. It was embarrassing, man. So Man United are awful. West Ham are awful. In my opinion, without being horrible to you, Flawless, and Dan Lawless, and that rhymes.
I like that.
Two of the dustiest teams I've seen, mate.
It's two bad teams. Like, I've watched West Ham. I thought they were all right against Spurs in the first half, but in the second half, I don't know what happened. And they got some players as well. And shout out to my guy Mike, who's a West Ham fan. He's been livid since the start of the season about Lopetegui and calling him out. So in regards to United us going to West Ham, who knows what's gonna happen there? I'm trying to not think about it until like the day of. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna wait till Sunday. But in regards to the United Brentford game, first half very, very quiet from both sides. Extremely quiet from both sides. Not really much happened outside of the goal. There wasn't really much goal mouth action. You see what we've all seen: Manchester United's lack of quality, in particular in the final third, and you just see Manchester United's incompetence, even for my medical stuff with the whole De Ligt situation. If De Ligt's on the pitch, do we concede from the corner? Probably not, but his blood's gushing from his head, flowing from his head. Just bandage him up. Like, I don't understand it. They put grease on it like he's a boxer. Like, what are we doing out here, man? Just bandage it. And 3 times he left the pitch. 3 times, and it's like, yo, just wrap his head. We can see the goal. We're 1-0 down, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, here we go. This is definitely going to be drop points. Probably a loss, but to Manchester United's credit, we actually stepped up.
To respond, to be fair.
Yeah, in the second half, I was super shocked, Henry. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, all right, we actually responded very well, and something I don't think I've said all season and rarely say about Manchester United's attack is it was individual brilliance that won us the game, and it was from the first goal, what a pass from Rashford, great volley from Garnacho. And then even the second goal as well, lovely touch around the corner from Bruno and a quality finish from Hoyland. And that's not something...
It's 3 games unbeaten now, Flawless.
All right, Henry. All right, relax. All right, you're doing too much.
The draw against Porto with 10 men.
Here we go.
Point, I think people need to put a little bit more praise on that point at Villa, because that's a tough place to go, and you've come out of there. But yeah, I mean...
Yeah, it's because
the first game for me is the one. You've got to beat Fenerbahce, and Jose is going to be so up for that. If you don't beat Fenerbahce, I'll be honest, I don't think you get out of the Europa League.
You don't think we finish in the top 24?
No, it's top 8. It's the same as
I'm already not looking at top. We a playoff team. Like, let's just get that straight.
Yeah.
We are not a top 8 side.
I'll be honest.
We are a top 24 side. Yeah, go on.
Then you got Bodo Glimt and PAOK. If you can't beat those two, then yeah. I don't know. I think you'll draw against Fenerbahce.
Yeah, it's got draw written all over it, 100%. And
Jose's going to start that defensive line on the goal line.
It's a good result. But yeah, top 8. No. We are not a top 8 side in the Europa League. We are top 24. That's how I'm looking at it. Just finish in the top 24 and see where we go from there. Yes, it's 2 extra games. Yes, it's a playoff game, but that's just where we are.
You're only 21st at the moment.
Like, yeah, we're 21st. See, we roundabouts where we should be. Told you, playoff team. This was basketball playing team for those that watch NBA. So that's where we're at. But even with results, I don't think, because people said, oh, Ten Hag's won, that means he keeps his job. Big up to DG as well. I don't think even if we lose to Brentford, he gets sacked. Let's say we would have lost the game 2-0. I don't think, because Ineos have shown there's no bar. So how can I sit here and say, oh, well, if we lost 2-0 or 3-0 to Brentford, he's getting a sacking, or if we lose to Fenerbahce, or if we lose to West Ham? I think we could lose both games and he wouldn't get sacked. Let's say we lose to Fenerbahce. Let's say we lose to West Ham. I still think he'd manage in the next game. Because
I actually agree.
Now? Yeah, what's different with those 2 games that we haven't seen previously? But yeah, in regards to the Brentford game, like I said, individual moments. You know what I'm saying? From our 4 attackers, props to them. Won us the game, and defensively, we've been all right pretty much the whole season, to be honest. People will look at the Spurs game, people will look at the Liverpool game, and act like that's been us the entire season. It's like, it's not been that way. Like, defensively done okay. So yeah, got the win. Pleased to get the win, and hopefully we can do the same against Fenerbahce and West Ham.
Gonna be interesting, man. Listen, let's close on Spurs. Henry must be really happy smashing West Ham, who, by the way, were awful. But I'll say fair play to Spurs because you turn it on and turn it on. Little bit like the Ten Hag situation where 1 minute you're slating him and then he'll just get a win. That seems to what happens with Ange. I mean, like you've been on here ranting and raving about him to be sacked. Then he starts turning it on again. Then it goes down again. Then he's been sacked against Brighton. Then he's all right now because he's beat West Ham. But where you actually at, bro? Because one thing I will say about Ange that I just don't really quite understand as much as he's done well the wins he's had. He doesn't like Maddison, does he? At all. Like he loves taking him off.
We're just roller coaster FC, mate. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I actually agreed with the Maddison change, if I'm being honest. I think we brought on Sarr and we had Basuma, and West Ham couldn't get on the ball. We just controlled that midfield comfortably. And I think Kulu's been our best player this season. I'll be honest, I think Kulu's been ridiculously good for us. And yes. I don't know if you know that guy on Twitter. He's got like Andrew's Twitter profile picture. His name's like B, and he thinks he's like an away for B licensed coach. He talks a lot of nonsense. One thing he did say though is Bernardo Silva was a winger, and they put him in the 8 role, and he cooked for City. And we've kind of done a similar type thing with Kulusevski. When he's on that right hand side, he doesn't have the pace of a Johnson or a Son or a Werner to constantly beat his man. But what he does have more than anyone else in our team is he's got the engine of a flipping prime Ford Mondeo 2-litre turbo that can just get up and down that A12, mate. He's absolutely ridiculous. And this season he's popped up with important goals. He should have got 2 assists. Good to see Son back. As soon as Son was on the team sheet, I went, we're going to win this by 3 goals. I thought that never in doubt. But you know, it's the games which last week we should have beaten Brighton, or the week before the international break. We should have come away with 3 points. If you put another 3 points, and I know you can say this to practically every team in the Premier League, we'd be above Chelsea right now. We'd be the talk of
man. You know what I'm saying? 4 points off top 4. I'm saying second highest goal scorers in the league. All hail big.
Yeah, that's the maddest stat, because I don't think, other than Son and Solanke hasn't been clinical this season. But other than those two, I don't really think any of our forwards are at that level. I just think that they're purple patch players. Like Brendan Johnson getting 7 goals in 7 games. That's not going to happen often, is it? Timo Werner isn't clinical. We're having to rely on Mikey Moore come to the bench. But I look at our fixtures right now, and our next 8 games, we've got Palace away on Sunday. I think we go to Palace and come away with 3 points. We've got AZ Alkmaar on Thursday. I think we put 3 or 4 goals past them. Then it's the test. Then it's Man City, Villa, Galatasaray, Ipswich, Man City. If we can go to Man City, or if we can have Man City come to us and we can get a result against them in the League Cup, we're a confident side. We can either win 4 or 5 in a row or lose 4 or 5 in a row. Tottenham are just a confident side. Villa will be the interesting one because, of course, we haven't beaten Villa. Oh, no, we have beaten them. We beat them 4-0 at their place. But I don't fancy us against Villa because I know the way Unai Emery's going to sit back and counter us. But yeah, if we win tomorrow night or Thursday night, in the Europa League, I think we've qualified. I'll be honest. I don't think there's that many superb teams in the Europa. It's like Galatasaray won't be easy. Victor Osimhen the other night scored an over a kick. It's not going to be an easy game for us, but I think we can come out at every point. And then you get into December where we play Rangers, Liverpool, Chelsea. Now that's going to be, can we finally get a decent result against Chelsea? That'd be nice. But yeah, I think at the moment, I think describing Tottenham as a roller coaster is the perfect analogy, because 1 week we're up and the next minute we're down. You know, that is the perfect analogy. But overall, it was a good performance. Kudus, you know, gets his goal, gets a run of play, like Judge said earlier. But then we had, towards the end of the first half, they had a 20-minute spell, maybe 25-minute spell where I actually thought West Ham were quite good. They looked like they was up for it. Towards like the 30th to the end of the first half, it was all loss. We had an 8-minute spell in the second half where we were just ridiculous against them. We finished our chances. And I think 4-1, if I'm being honest, is a bit... I think that's a good scoreline for West Ham, because that should have been 7. That should have been 6 or 7. Same with the Man United result. If Son's on the pitch against Man United, we would have got 5 or 6 there. And the fact that this team have scored 18 goals, right, which is more than only 1 more than Chelsea, but 3 more than Arsenal, 3 more than Villa, 3 more than Liverpool. And I don't think any of our forwards are particularly elite. So that's where you got to give Ange praise. You got to give Ange praise, and we've conceded less goals than Villa, the same amount of goals as City, and the same amount of goals as other teams. So defensively, we're not horrendous. We just can't keep clean sheets. You know what? We had 1 in our last 17 home games. That's diabolical.
That's the problem. After Spurs, that goal that they give away. Oh my God! You know what I mean? Like Van der Ven turning his back, and you know you can't do that. You know, like just waltzing into the box and then just putting a cross in and all that. That's what they've got to sort out.
But he doesn't care though, Lee.
No, he doesn't.
He'd rather win a game 4-2 than 2-0.
There isn't that, and I have to say this. I was talking to my Spurs mate yesterday. You have to say and give credit where credit's due, whether you like him or not, and where it's bloody entertaining. He said, "I went to you know you're going to the game. You know that it's going to be an enjoyable game. It's so." Spurs fans have got what they wanted a little bit in a way, where they was moaning about the entertainment value, and it is entertaining value. They're up there, and you know there was only one winner, even though it went 1-0 down. You know, we was travelling to Bournemouth when we was watching it. Like I said, even though they're 1-0 down, you knew they weren't going to lose that game. That's got to be a good thing if you're a fan. You know that you go on and win the game. And once they went 1-1, you right on it. You knew then, and then back, they come out, and there's a lot of drive in it. And somewhere along the line, you find sometimes managers can be fortunate. And I think with the Kulusevski one now, like I think that's his role. When you play against good teams, play 2 midfield players in there and him. And if you've got a more open team at home, a team that's going to play banks of 4 and 4, then play Maddison and Kulusevski in there, and just a one in there, like, you know. But if he just tinkers it with a little bit without being stupid, I think that Tottenham, you know, have got a good chance of challenging for the top honours, and because on any God-given day, if they click, they're hard to stop. You know what I mean? Like as they were in a 20-minute spell that game there. You know, well, yeah, we can say that West Ham were poor, and they were, but you still got to destroy that team and beat them, and they did. And as for West Ham, well, poor old David Moyes. You know what I mean? That's all I'll say.
Have you heard if Palace lose tonight, he's the favourite for the Palace job?
Do you know what? It would be absolutely hilarious if Moyes went to Palace and finished above West Ham. It would be absolutely brilliant.
No. I need Palace to get a result. Yeah, if Forest win, they go above us. Hey, Palace, you must. You know what I'm saying? Like, what we doing out here?
They haven't played bad though, Palace, have they? They're not. I wouldn't say that they're.
They look good though, Lee. Have they?
No, I think they missed. At least it's a big miss for them.
They could click.
And Anderson as well. Anderson.
Yeah, the fact that at least he's left.
I think Lopetegui. I don't think they look. I think they actually look worse. Like, okay, they beat Ipswich 4-1. Okay, no disrespect to Ipswich, but an established Premier League side like West Ham should be comfortably beating a promoted side. But West Ham, okay, they've scored 11, but they've conceded 15. The only team in the league to have conceded more is Ipswich and Wolves. And Southampton, sorry. And 2 of those teams, I think Gary O'Neill's gone anyway. I think this weekend will be his last game, regardless if they win. But West Ham have been absolutely diabolical. Like, they have been horrendous.
He's cracked.
West Ham is the perfect example of where people get they get ahead of themselves and they crave this style of football over results, and it's not always the grass is green.
Yeah, it's a great point.
But you know what? I understand why people wanted Moyes out. I understand why they might have thought he took them as far as they could, right? I understood there was some like that. And the style of football thing is definitely a thing, because actually Moyes was getting smashed 5s and 6s by teams as well, right? But when you look at what he did, European football consistently for 3 years, first trophy in 43 years, and they went, yeah, we don't want that. We want Lopetegui. That is an absolute madness of a decision. And the guy, let's be real, has not been a massive success anywhere that he's been, Lopetegui, has he? In the last...
Did he manage Real Madrid and get sacked there?
He was awful at Real
very
Madrid.
quickly, by the way.
Very, very poor.
Around.
Terrible at Wolves.
Spain.
Wolves were in a mess, and Wolves fans hated Lopetegui. They get rid of him. He's awful.
They got
This is
some
not
games
the
coming
right
up and
thing
all.
for us.
They got Arsenal, Everton, Forest, Man United, Newcastle.
Everton are picking up some form, by the way.
Yeah,
as well,
they could be potentially the shock team to get relegated if it carries on the way it is.
Yeah.
Eddie, I think they'll sack him before. If they get relegated after spending that amount of money in the summer, that'd be crazy, wouldn't it? But I think they'll sack Lopetegui before.
I reckon they'll go Thomas Frank.
It's too many poor teams down there, Dan. But this moment in time, they're in free fall at the moment. I'll tell you what, you're right. What you're saying, Henry, it's their defence. You know what I mean? Like you can get at it, can't you?
But they're not bad players. Like Aaron Wan-Bissaka is defensively one of the best 1v1 defenders in the league.
Would West Ham take Glasner? Would they take Glasner if he was to get?
I think they'll get Thomas Frank.
Right. Wait, Frank? You think he'll leave Brentford?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
right.
West Ham will pay good money. Like, I thought the Brentford Man United game.
Big up to you, lot.
Yeah, flawless, love, bro. Love, bro.
Take care, flawless, man. Yeah, that's good, man. Yeah, big up, man. Blessings.
Love, man. Love.
I thought the Man United Brentford game was almost like an audition for Thomas Frank to go there and get the right results. I thought he's the favourite, but I feel like Brentford, no disrespect to Brentford, but I don't ever really see them getting in and around the European places at the moment. And I think Thomas Frank's a good tactical manager, and with the amount of money West Ham spend, they could get back into Europe right now. Like,
I thought they would have got Graham Potter.
I
really thought West Ham should have got Graham Potter. I really did. I thought that would have been perfect.
I think he's a little bit too big for his boots at the moment, Potter. He's turned down a couple of jobs.
He turned down Ajax, didn't he?
Ajax and stuff. I think that Chelsea job's made him think he's better than what he is.
West Ham would be a perfect fit for him, I think, because he's got a good squad. He can play attractive football. We've seen what he's done, not just at what he done at Brighton, but obviously Östersunds and Swansea. He was overachieving at both those clubs for where they should be. I still think he's a good manager. I just think that at Chelsea, it was just a nightmare coming in there.
But both gaffers that have been in since him at Brighton have arguably done better. This Herzl has got him sitting fifth, and De Zerbi did better than him, didn't he?
That's fair. I just
De Zerbi, for me, they should have gone after De Zerbi. As soon as it was all going like a bit of a mess, he's gone to Marseille, isn't he? Like, I just think
he's got
they love a spiky Italian character at West Ham.
do you think that West Ham with Frank will be a good appointment?
Yeah, I think
go
because I think Frank's this close to the United job.
Well underrated.
I think he'd do a good job at United, but I don't know. I think that's probably the hardest job in the Premier League at the moment. That is just. Yeah,
but wouldn't you take your chances, wouldn't you? Instead of taking the West Ham job, you'd like that. Man United spoke to Thomas Frank in the summer.
Yeah,
if they get him, they need to keep him for like 18 months, like whatever happens, because they can't just keep sacking and sacking. For me, like that.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
And a tactician like Thomas Frank, he's good enough. Like to take a team like to the next level. I don't know if he's good enough to win Manchester United titles, but they need to get back somewhere fast because
Champions League would be a good start, wouldn't it? Getting back in there.
Just try and get him back playing Champions League football to start with, and then look around managers that you want afterwards. But I think they could do a lot worse than Thomas Frank, man. But look,
sorry, Dan, just quickly, but I would watch. I don't know if timing will work out, but I would watch Eddie Howe's position at Newcastle as well.
Yeah,
considering they don't have top like Champions League football this season, and we all said they could potentially get top 4 this season. Where they're sitting currently, it's not great. I do wonder whether Eddie Howe is going to be the next sort of bigger name manager to be put to the sword.
He's going to be.
I agree with you.
Apparently, Isak rejected a contract offer, didn't he?
So they're trying to get what I'm hearing is they're trying to get Isak to sign, but he wants a release clause put in his contract. That's what I'm being told. They want to make
a funny release clause to finish on to do with Newcastle. Have you heard the Tosin one?
No.
So Newcastle were trying to sign Tosin in the summer. He basically said, I want a decent contract, blah, 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 but I want a clause that if Real Madrid or Barcelona want to buy me, I can leave. And then Newcastle said no. And then he got on the phone, obviously, to Chelsea, and we said yes.
Wow. So
imagine rating yourself to that level.
I wouldn't want to play like that, though.
No, that's awful ego, isn't it? It means like
Real Madrid or Barcelona.
He ain't going there.
I've never heard of a clause like that.
He ain't going there.
Coming from Fulham, where they let your contract run out, it's
Yeah.
outrageous.
He ain't going there, that's for sure. But yeah, no, Isak, I'm praying that Arsenal's his next club. I love the kid, but I don't know what's going on there. But Newcastle, you'll make yourself wonder, are they ever actually going to go like and be a title contender? Because the way things are going is very slow for how much money they've got and how well run they're supposed to be. I mean, they look a mess, to be fair. And Eddie Howe, I think, I never thought Eddie Howe was going to take him to a title, but I thought he did really well in his first year. Last couple, he's been poor. And at the moment, Newcastle don't look hard to beat. Now I've said that, they'll probably go and beat us, but they don't look hard to beat at the moment.
They got one win
really
in their last 5, though. Like, they're really not looking great. And they got one game a week, pretty much.
It ain't looking good, man. But listen, we'll see. Look, we've overrun. Big up to every single one of you for coming up. Big up to Flawless as well. Martin will be back next week. Big up to Lee. Big up to Henry. Big up to Dan. Make sure you stay tuned. You're going to be redirected over to LB, who's ranting and raving at the moment. Last super chat is side topic. Last couple of years, our strengths are defending. In the last 8 games, we've conceded 8 goals. Same as Newcastle. 1 less than Spurs, United and City. And we've conceded more than Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. Yeah, it is weird that Arsenal have brought these defenders in. I've been told that we're the best defence in the league, and we certainly ain't playing like it at the moment, that's for sure. Liverpool definitely look defensively better than Arsenal. That's just a fact. Big up to Suge. Big up to all your super chats. Do me a favour, people. Hit a like and subscribe, and make sure you're following Henry Talks Football and BDB Dan as well. Yeah, we'll see you next time, guys. Take it easy. We're out of here.